The Lord of the Rings saga has given us a variety of characters, but none is more intriguing than Gollum. This troubled figure provides an intriguing look at the complexity of the human mind. His transformation from an innocent creature to one plagued by obsession and madness is a powerful tale of corruption and salvation. However, the cause of his change is still unknown. Was it only the powerful draw of the One Ring, or were there darker powers at work? Well, Gollum's life was nothing special. Among the characters within The Lord of the Rings, he can be said to be the simplest. He lived with his extended family beside a beautiful lake under the care of his grandmother. Things were going smoothly until his birthday, when he and his cousin Deagle were fishing and discovered the One Ring. The ring ignited Gollum's internal desires, triggering a sinister transformation that drove him to murder Deagle in order to possess it. This act was met with negative reactions from his people, who decided it best to banish him, forcing him to seek shelter on the Misty Mountains. While he was on the mountains, the very ring he had fought for began to erode his conscience. On the surface, Smeagol seemed to have this life force that was not in any other hobbit. However, upon closer examination, you could see that he was gradually being corrupted. This gradual shift within his psyche made him slowly exhibit signs of dissociative identity disorder. The guy had transformed into a whole new person with two personalities. One was his original persona, Smeagol, and the other was the sinister Gollum, who was entirely enslaved by the ring's power. One couldn't imagine that the once innocent hobbit could end up in such a state. This split personality illustrated Smeagol's internal struggle between the innocence of his original self and the corrupting influence of the ring. To make matters worse, Smeagol was still experiencing a long-term isolation with no one to converse with. This further aggravated the situation, creating more distance between his two personalities. One had his mind set on the memories of friendship and love, while the other was possessed by the desire for the ring. This internal division was so profound that Smeagol could sometimes converse with himself, expressing both the love and hatred he felt for the ring and for himself. Over time, his Gollum personality became more prevalent, illustrating the tragic loss of Smeagol's good self to the dark allure of the One Ring. However, this loss is nothing compared to his psychological profile. As Gollum's desire for the ring increases, his character starts to exhibit clear psychological themes. Take his repetitive behaviors, for example. The guy was clearly showing signs of obsessive-compulsive disorder. He would sit down and start caressing the ring with his fingers and at the same time whispering to it. He was talking as if he was addressing a person in another dimension outside the ring. While we consider the situation he was in, we might as well argue he was trying to relieve his mounting anxiety. However, this method seemed to offer very little respite, only intensifying the unending cycle of fear and desire that plagued him. Furthermore, apart from that turmoil, Gollum was also deeply rooted to the antisocial personality disorder. When you look back at his early years, you would agree that Gollum had showed signs of antisocial behavior for a long period of time. For example, his aggression and his fixation on the One Ring were part of it. These emotions alone were sufficient to make him a murderer, thus confirming his pattern of disrespect for other people's rights. However, that's not all. Additionally, Gollum had symptoms of schizoid personality disorder. His character exhibited several criteria, with his solitary habits and emotional coldness aligning with indicators of this disorder. These traits became more pronounced when Smeagol transformed to Gollum, further pushing himself into isolation. Well, I can't fully blame Gollum for that decision. If I think about my own experiences during a long period of isolation, it's not hard to empathize with Gollum. Being in a cave for 471 years with no interaction with other people, no entertainment, no amenities, no anything can make anyone go insane. Adding to this, Gollum's only friend was the One Ring, which not only didn't comfort him, but also didn't offer him any social interaction, which is vital for the mental health of any creature. This social isolation was a major factor in his psychological deterioration, which is why his narrative is a perfect example of how loneliness can ruin a person's life. But that's not all. His dependency to the ring also added complexity to his already worsened psychological state. It was like the One Ring was a perfect example of an unhealthy obsession. It remained the same and unchanged and unyielding in its influence, turning Gollum from a regular being into a creature of consumption. This dependency kept him alive yet enslaved, illustrating a grim picture of addiction where Gollum served the ring's needs while it sustained his existence in a twisted symbiosis. His life turned into a cycle of serving and consuming. He was entangled in the death embrace with the ring, showing the destructive nature of addiction. Talking about addiction, it's crucial to note that Gollum's addiction resembles the real-world substance abuse. Like many individuals struggling with addiction, Gollum exhibited behaviors such as deceit, manipulation, and even committing crimes to satisfy his craving. The ring's grip on Gollum is a reflection of how substances can enslave a person, emphasizing the difficulty of breaking free from addiction's clutches. The sad fate of Gollum, being swallowed by addiction, is an example of what can happen when one doesn't conquer such dependencies. However, we can't fully place the blame on Smeagol, as he also struggled while fighting his internal conflicts. Gollum's existence was a continuous battle between his two personas: Smeagol, who tries to retain some of the good side, and Gollum, who was possessed by the ring. This internal conflict is well illustrated by the way the evil side of the character Gollum dominates the good side Smeagol in the dialogues. The complexity of his character is further highlighted by his actions that oscillate between moments of clarity and intense malice, making it difficult to fully empathize with him despite understanding his torment. Nevertheless, despite this overwhelming darkness, Smeagol also didn't lack moments when he tried to show desire for redemption. These moments, however, were always overshadowed by his split personality Gollum. This duality of his nature illustrates the profound impact the ring had on his psyche, driving him to commit heinous acts. This tug-of-war between his dual identities encapsulates the core of his tragic narrative, where brief glimpses of his former self are smothered by the darker impulses of Gollum. Gollum's journey reaches its climax with his tragic demise, a poignant symbol of his darker nature prevailing in the end. In his last moments, he exults briefly in holding the ring before meeting his fate in the fiery depths of Mount Doom. Gollum's fate is intricately tied to the ring's power, reflecting the broader theme of good versus evil within Tolkien's narrative. In short, the transformation from Smeagol to Gollum and the internal battle between his former self and the consuming identity of Gollum underscores the tragic narrative of a being lost to obsession and corruption. Gollum's story vividly illustrates how the allure of the One Ring erodes his moral compass and fractures his psyche. His descent into madness, exacerbated by isolation and addiction, highlights the devastating impact of prolonged solitude and dependency. Through this exploration, we gain a deeper understanding of the profound consequences of unchecked obsession, and the complex interplay between external influences and internal conflicts. There you have it, folks. We hope you liked and enjoyed it. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Till next time.